Hey, happy Sunday, happy Sunday. How's everyone doing? Happy Sunday. It's kind of nasty outside, but I hope y'all are getting better weather than I am. Um, yeah, a lot of people are piling in. I saw something, I thought it was kind of interesting. It was, well, a couple of things, and it's more about the whole content revolution thing. Before we even get started, check out, has anyone seen the new on HBO Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates? I was thinking about watching it. I'm not sure if I want to make a podcast about it, do a live stream about it, or what, but it is the couple of clips I've seen so far are really interesting. I don't really understand what I'm looking at. I don't know if what I'm looking at is celebrities reading from the book. Are they reading from the book and just different celebrities are taking turns reading, or are they doing their own letters to their nieces and kids, or what? Has anyone watched it so they can let me know? Because the clips are weird. Um, and they're a bit much. Like it's really heavy handed. It's almost like parody. I can't believe it's real. But anyway, I just want to talk about this real quick. Um there are these influencers, and what I find about them is pretty weird. I don't really understand what their deal is, but it's these two black kids or twins, and they just react to stuff. They react to music and different things, and they're called Tim and Fred. And people just seem to really like them, like white people, but there's something low key uh racist about the way that they're enjoyed. To me, it was very bizarre. And someone on my Discord named Julius put it pretty well. But if any of y'all have seen them, you'll know what I mean. Like on one hand, it's kind of harmless, and I don't want to, you know, kill anybody's joy. But it's these two black kids, and they just basically will listen to old white boomer music and discover the music, and then they'll just enjoy the music, and people get so crazy and happy to watch them enjoy the music. But it's something about the way they enjoy, and what it is, I'll use his words, but I'll use Julius's words himself. But he said, I feel like with these black reaction vids, there's also a tie-in with quote unquote black joy and other content genres of black experience made for white consumption. People, especially but not exclusively white American liberals, get something out of experiencing emotions through the perspective of a black person. That's what ties everything from street magic reaction videos, music reactions, r/black people Twitter, which is a Reddit dedicated to tweets by black people, and quote unquote black joy content. It seems to be a combination of these reasons or more. One, black people are considered the arbiters of cool. Two, seeing black joy eases racial guilt, and seeing black pain stokes it in a masochistic way. So they enjoy seeing the black joy because it kind of eases the racial guilt, and they enjoy seeing the black pain because it kind of stokes the racial guilt in a masochistic way. I'll also say the black joy, I think, still ties into the trauma because there is something extra cathartic or masochistic about seeing joy in the midst of trauma. Like the joy itself is kind of pathological and traumatized. Like there's something desperate about it. Like, watching a Holocaust film, and they find like a moment of happiness in the middle of the concentration camp. Life is Beautiful was like that for Jewish people, where they're in a concentration camp, and there were these little moments of joy, and the joy was contextualized and gained this resonance from the contrast against and the context of the misery. So I would say they tie in together that way. And number three, that Julia said, Black people are assigned a superhuman or primitive capacity to experience emotions, which makes watching them experience anything more interesting. And I thought, that was all really, really good stuff in the terms of insights. But what I added to what he said is, I don't think it's a primitive or superhuman capacity to enjoy or feel or process emotions. What I would say is, Black people are seen to have emotional and spiritual superpowers precisely because they're primitive. Like, in white people's myth making about themselves and their self um, regard, they view themselves as the most intellectually progressive and smartest people on the earth. But in their mind, and this goes back to Enlightenment times with Rousseau and the idea of the noble savage, like there's this kind of idea that by making themselves into such intellectual beasts or giants, that they've lost something um, in terms of emotions and humanity and spirituality. That was the price of the ticket. That was the price that they paid, and that they've kind of become emotionally, as a result of them being intellectually advanced, they view themselves as being culturally deprived, emotionally stunted, emotionally disconnected, emotionally retarded. And I use retarded in the classic meaning, not like Down syndrome, but like retarded means underdeveloped, or your progress has halted. Whereas whether it's Native Americans or indigenous people, Black people, or different types of people, by not, in their mind, intellectually progressing and going through that process, they've not only never uh, retarded their emotional development, but they've managed to keep growing in that regard. So to these people, us as Black people being primitive has led to these kind of emotional and spiritual superpowers, through which it's more entertaining or more fulfilling to vicariously live through joy and trauma through us. And they kind of use us as lessons for that. So we're superhuman emotionally and spiritually precisely because we're primitive. So when you see all this stuff happening with these people, that's basically what it is. Strangely enough, there's no comments. That's interesting. Is a live chat? Yeah, Obama trashed Lula, confirming his neo-lib cred. Yeah, he did a bunch of stuff. We're planning to read the book at some point. So we'll talk about the details of that, but I just wanted to contextualize who these kids are. There's something really weird about how these kids are celebrated, and it's the whole thing has to do with them reacting reacting to things. And then they react to things, and these white liberals eat it up. It's really weird, um the way in which they enjoy them. It's very, very patronizing. It's an extremely patronizing it's an extremely patronizing thing. And I used to have some examples of it handy, but unfortunately I don't have it. But if you've seen these twins, um it's Black content really for white people. Like, the Black people don't really want to watch these people react to old school and white music. But there's something fun or validating they feel about watching these uh, Black kids get this kind of joy from their music, and from from this stuff. Um, yeah, it only occurred to me right now at the moment that I should have pulled up examples. But anyway, it's not really important. Let's jump to let's jump to the Obama thing. Um, kind of. I mean, there's just too much fuckery in it to kind of not read it, if that makes sense. Like, but anyway, here the Tim and Fred guy, right? I mentioned last week that I mentioned last week that Obama had a playlist, and I was talking about how what he does is content, not works, and everything is cross promotional. And someone made a good comment on the last thing that we did, where he said, you know, is it fair to say that content just sells you stuff while works fulfill you? And I think that's a fair way to put it. That's a very fair way to put it. You know, he said, is it can it be said that content promotes while works provide? And that's exactly what it is. Like, content promotes, works provide. And you know, all Obama's doing is promoting. But check this out. So Obama says, this was fun. I heard Tim and Fred were listening to some songs on my A Promised Land playlist, so I decided to drop in and surprise them. We talked about a lot, from Bob Dylan to old school mixtapes to the role music played in my memoir. So that's another thing about content. Content doesn't lead, it follows. Like, it follows trends, it follows whatever is popular and getting eyeballs, and it tries to attach itself to it and, you know, follow the movements. Just like how I said there's a difference between fashion and style. Fashion is content, while style is artistic or work. Yeah, so um he's always done this. He's always glommed onto YouTube personalities and tried to be the cool dad or the cool uncle. So he had a whole YouTube summit while he was in office once, where he was using the influencers of the day. So right now, these guys are the popular influencers of the day. And so they had a YouTube original. We probably signed some kind of contract with YouTube. Like, the amount of promotional stuff, or and it just says we twins the new trend. Like, even in the video, it talks about how they're a trend. He's trend chasing, keeps him popular, like somebody put. But anyway, let's put some audio on it. Let me know if you can hear it.
We twins new trend,
and we got a special video out.
So they're called We Trends New Trend.
For you guys, man.
Sir.
We're gonna react to one of Barack Obama's songs off his book. It's called A Promised Land, man. Yep. That's crazy.
Hey people, what's going on?
He live?
I hear you guys were asking questions. I decided I'm just gonna go ahead and come here live.
And it's kind of weird how they kind of stage it like it's a surprise thing. How could he just barge into their feed? That's a very weird thing to even pretend. Like, does he have like some kind of hacking powers? He just barges it. Like it's just so funny. They try to make this fake spontaneity. Also, does his voice to you sound like he's doing a Barack Obama impression? Like, hey guys, Barack Obama. Like, it doesn't. He doesn't even sound like himself. It's very weird. He's kind of become literally self-parody, which I find interesting. Yeah, so I guess it hasn't even fully debuted yet. It says December 16th. That's kind of weird to. I don't know why it says December 16th. Actually, no, the whole thing is here, it looks like. So I don't know why it says December 16th. But yeah, if you follow the link, there's a whole thing. I'm not gonna play all of it because there's music in it. And if I play the music, then it's going to give me a copyright strike. I don't have whatever. Yeah, but the whole video is up. If you search for We Twins, I'll tell you how to find it. If you want to watch it for yourself, I'm not gonna put it up because, like I said, I'll get the copyright strike. Yeah, but yeah, that sounds like a really bad Obama impression. Like he's it's it's really weird. I don't know what exactly that is that he's doing there. Like his authenticity has hit such levels that he doesn't even remember what his voice sounds like to me. Here is the, if you want to find it for yourself, it's the channel's Twins the New Trend, and Barack Obama surprises us. Um, First time hearing Bob Dylan booktube trailer. So it's a trailer. So I guess they're gonna have a full show, and this is kind of like, again, the content thing. I don't know what booktube is. Booktube must be a different site. So this thing is promoting yet a different thing. This is an 8-minute preview of something that's gonna be on something else called booktube. I don't know what booktube is. Booktube must be YouTube's. I think I know what booktube is. So booktube is a show that YouTube has under YouTube Originals, it looks like. Um, and so on the YouTube Originals, they have YouTube to talk with different authors, and that thing is about 20 minutes on average, it seems. Michelle Obama did a booktube in 11 months ago for her Becoming book. So this is probably going to be an 8-minute preview on the Twins channel of something that's going to appear on YouTube Originals BookTube that will be 20 minutes. So um, the tweet is a 1-minute preview of an 8-minute preview of a 20-minute video to promote a playlist that promotes a book. So yeah, I mean, the synergy is uh pretty good. Yeah, so someone said Michelle had a booktube thing. Did she appear with any influencers to promote the booktube for the book? Did she do that as well? Like, did you have James Charles go over? I'm Barack Obama, and yeah, that's what he sounds like. It sounds like a bad imitation. It doesn't sound like him at all. If I heard that audio uh of just him, I would have been like, this is the worst Barack Obama impersonation, you know? But yeah, whatever. Um, but I found that funny. I found it funny that he had just a whole that he's searching out and collaborating with teenage YouTubers to promote his thing and again, like I said, and I don't dislike those kids. I'm not blaming them. I more don't like how white liberals are kind of treating them like pets, and it's just a weird. You have to read some of the white liberal reactions to those kids. It's very, very bizarre and pathologizing. Um, the way that they treat them. Um, if I find some of those examples, I will give. If I find some of those examples, I will do another video. Here we go. I think I found some examples. So Julius was the one. Julius was the one that actually pointed this out to me himself. Where he pointed out, this was in August. He pointed it out to me as I found these kids. He said, "Has anyone noticed the phenomenon of black reaction videos to quote unquote white music? I've been seeing it a lot, and I've been thinking in the back of my mind about it in the back of my mind. But I just saw a whole New Yorker article that mentions one YouTuber, although it makes no explicit mention of race. And if you look, this is what it is. It wasn't. This is it. And it's the same kids. The addictive joy of watching someone listen to Phil Collins. But the someone is basically black. They don't use the word black. It would look really said the addictive joy of watching someone black listen to um, Phil Collins. Yeah, R.I.P. Nation of Islam, Obama. But I'm telling you that Nation of Islam Obama, I think sounds more like actual Obama than Obama looks. It sounds now. Hey Robbie, how's it going? Oh yeah, I mean, I never thought that was Obama's genuine voice. This is what I think actually happened. This is what I think actually happened. Uh, they were showing all these clips of Obama speaking in different places and doing Wall Street speeches and all this stuff. And some people, I think Yvette Carnell might have retweeted this. We're doing a side by side, and that kind of country slash pastor voice that he had was gone, and they played him in office and him out of office, and he was talking more like a stereotypical white guy, right? And people were kind of had this idea like, oh man, so that was kind of an affectation he was doing, kind of like what S. Clark is saying here. But what I think happened is he's had to find that voice again after being out of practice with it for a couple of years to promote this movie. He's gonna need the Negroes to you know, really celebrate this to give it its authenticity and stuff. And I think maybe that's why it sounds like that, because he's kind of detached from the voice and it's become like an imitation of an imitation at this point. If I had it handy, I would show you. I would show you that. But yeah, yeah, this is about that. The biggest one was In the Air Tonight with a black kid going crazy for the drums drop. Unfortunately, damn it, it looks like you have to have some kind of. Hold on a second. As usual, everything is ad blocked. The nerve of these publications to expect you to pay for their product. Don't they know that nowadays we're entitled to be able to read everything for free? So let's see. Let's see if I can get rid of this. Okay, I think I got rid of the ad block. So let me put it back up. Yeah, so I think he's gotten rusty. He doesn't remember. I feel like he probably watched old tapes of himself and tried to imitate those. And that's how it became. So it says the addictive joy of watching someone listen to Phil Collins. And to me, if it was just regular white kids or older people, it wouldn't really get them off. But I think these kids get really into it. And again, it's like what Julia said about uh, how they like watching black people watch street magic. I think to them it's up there with watching like a tribe get invaded by Europeans and get shown like trinkets and watching the tribe overreact to trinkets that the European tribe takes for granted, and they're kind of laughing with them but also laughing at them. So um This August, normally a bountiful month in which tomatoes ripen on the vine, hydrangea bushes sag with extravagant blooms, and the sunsets can be nearly psychedelic. I have found it difficult to hold on to a good feeling. For a lot of Americans, this particular summer has been a season of fear of concern, or at least of a kind of endless, anxious boredom. But one small, pure, reliable pleasure remains: the giddiness of hearing a completely awesome song for the first time. For almost a year, Tim and Fred Williams, 21-year-old twins from Gary, Indiana, where the Jacksons are from, have made videos of themselves listening to famous songs and then uploading the videos to their YouTube channel. They sit in elaborate side-by-side chairs situated in front of a sometimes unmade bed. And this description I find interesting. Posters of the rapper Tupac Shakur and the boxer Deontay Wilder are taped to a wood panel wall behind them. So it's kind of trying to code and bring up the blackness without having to actually point out that they're black. So this is how they're saying, Justice, these guys are blackity black. These guys are blackity black. Don't worry. but they're not going to actually say that explicitly. So it's kind of coded. Most of the songs they choose to play have been suggested by subscribers, and they range from very recent hits to genuine oldies. And from me, the twins' videos are bewitching for many reasons. The sweetness and good humor, that black joy, that black naivete, the way to quickly recontextualize and therefore reinvigorate songs that I have heard thousands of times. And I think that whole recontextualize means put it in a black framing that gives them life. It's not that different than what Hamilton did for the founding fathers. Like something to the white people about seeing black people infuse soul, even if it's watered down, corny soul, which is what Hamilton is. That's terrible rap. It's like after school special, Yo Gabba Gabba rap. But to them, it's like it's lending that savage's authenticity into this enlightened space. And this is what I find interesting. The way that the twins remain so open to unfamiliar experiences. They came of age listening to Lil Wayne and Twista, but appear genuinely interested in all kinds of music. Seems like a rare gift. So something about the fact that they're authentically black in hip hop and listen to the jungle music, but they're able to appreciate real music. It's like a rare gift. It's like it's kind of like seeing a savage interest in classical music and whatever. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is something very creepy about it. It talks about how they tried, and it focuses on them trying white songs that aren't stereotypically black. Blake Shelton's "Happy Anywhere," and then she talks about how they're watching the video, and she's kind of finds it cute and romantic how kind of sheltered they are too in her mind. She's like, they recently queued up the country singer Blake Shelton's "Happy Anywhere," a love song featuring vocals from his girlfriend Gwen Stefani. Part of the song's video appears to have been filmed in a cornfield on Shelton's ranch in Oklahoma, where the couple have been isolating. Tim pauses the video. "Grass is really that big?" he asks, incredulous. "It's as tall as them. Hold up." And he's like 6 something. "Bro, you would not see me in a cornfield. For real, bro." Usually by the end, they agree that whatever track they have been listening to is pretty great. So it's interesting that they always like the track. And I think that's something important too. They don't just listen to it and get critical and be like, well, no, this is subpar, this is whatever. It's kind of fluff. Like they always end up liking the track. And she seems more impressed by how incredulous and sheltered and full of, to her, that's like that black innocence, that savage naivete, right? Hey, everyone who's checking in, how's it going? Yeah. So, and like they don't know how tall cornfields get, and they would never go to a cornfield. Like it's that's what she finds it entertaining. In mid-June, they tried Dolly Parton's Jolene. I'm like, why is this even a story? Like, it's just very weird that they're trying white music, black kids trying white music is worthy of a story. In mid-June, they tried Dolly Parton's Jolene. Tim has the kind of face that collapses fully into happiness, like a baby's expression after he successfully knocks down a tower of wooden blocks. So, really infantilizing, right? He pauses the song halfway through. "Dolly, you've got it. You got it," he announces. "This is a banger." So I think she likes that he's using black slang to, describe this. It's and I'm not saying these kids are deliberately doing it, but I think these people are projecting onto what they're doing a type of maybe minstrelsy. And I want to make clear, I don't think the kids themselves are guilty of that. I don't want to slander these kids. I think they're young, and I think they're probably doing this very innocently. I'm talking about what I think how white people are using them and project. I never heard of this, but this sounds like something it would be. Sounds like the Ghetto Hikes Twitter account. I've never heard that, but it sounds exactly. This is another thing on Twitter called Thug Notes, where this guy pretends to be a thug and he reads things like Lolita and whatever. The dialectic is that kid singing "I Just Want to Live" and these kids reacting to Rhiannon. Yeah, exactly. Hey, I Sound Info. What's going on? He and Fred resumed the video. By the end, Fred has grown quiet and vague melancholy. Don't take her man, he says. There's a whisper of Beavis and Butthead in the twins' video, but instead of a knee-jerk cynicism and deep fear of excitement, the exaltation of apathy that was a cornerstone of the 90s gestalt, the twins seem eager to be thrilled by something new. And that's kind of the thing. Like, Beavis and Butthead is that white cynicism, over intellectualizing, that apathy, that hip detachment that comes from being super critical and smart. But these people have that Negro joy of ignorance and sheltering that allows them that to tap into this childhood naivete that shows they don't get too critical, they don't think too hard about anything, they just let that Negro joy just explode, and they can just tap into that happy, sincere place. And part of it is because they're like, it's not calling them stupid, but it's calling them kind of sheltered and naive and whatever. But it's also using them. It's also using them to feel vicariously through. Like, this is something that white people have lost the capacity to feel with all their hot takes and snark and critique culture and all that stuff. Yeah, it's just, this is it didn't take long for this to go to a weird place. I saw an info. He said he's jumping in midstream. We're gonna bring it back home though. You'll see. So go back to this last paragraph. This is the Phil Collins thing, which is all to say, if you are feeling especially bummed or burned out, fully exhausted by the contents of your home and your own mind, this is directed to white people. Take a moment to watch the twins listen to Phil Collins' "In the Air Tonight" from 1981. It's their most popular video to date. And on Friday, briefly caused Phil Collins to start trending on Twitter. If you know the song, you have to wait for the very loud and excellent drum fill that arrives unexpectedly a little over 3 minutes in. We were playing with psychological things. The audience, they are going with you, blah, 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 Collins said in a recent interview. The drum fill on "In the Air Tonight" is one of the most dependable thrills I know. A very quick path to a certain kind of heady metaphysical elation. I wish that I had a video the first time I heard it. What my face did, whether I made a noise. She's talking about her relationship to that drum fill. This is something that's very important to white people. Like, for black people, the first time they might have seen their favorite episode of Martin or whatever. Like, she's saying this is like an iconic thing, for her. Or if you're a Gen X black person, the first episode of In Living Color. I remember we all kind of remember watching that, right? So she's talking about this as a cultural landmark to herself and other white people. She's like, connecting instantaneously with a piece of music can feel like happening upon a different world. The twins like the song almost immediately. Yeah, they say, bopping their heads. Okay, Phil Collins, he's killing it, Fred declares. They each periodically pound their hearts as if to reiterate, I feel this. Eventually, the drum fill arrives. It takes a moment for Tim to process it. And again, I can't believe the New Yorker, of all places, has dedicated this much ink to this topic. So this shows this is tapping into something very white and important in the mind of white liberals. It takes a moment for Tim to process the drum fill. He gasps as if he's seen a ghost and then rolls back in his chair. Fred's response is more understated, but not by much. Now they're deep in the pocket, dancing, exhilarated, happy. They pause the clip to gather their thoughts. That was cold. I ain't gonna lie, Phil. You got me on that, Tim says, laughing. I have never seen anybody drop a beat 3 minutes into the song, Fred adds. That unique. I have rewound this particular sequence many times simply to revel in its hope. What if there is a song you have never heard before that could still topple you? Maybe it's out there waiting, the twins suggest. Just keep listening. I'm pretty sure if it was two white kids, she would not have gotten this kind of weird, validating thrill and read so much into their simple joy. You know, it's yeah, there's something very much about what white people project into black people that goes into the way white people are so over enthused or enraptured by this. And these kids, whether deliberately or accidentally, are playing to that. So what Julia said I thought was pretty good comment. He says, I have nothing against it, but I find it so interesting that there is such a large audience for it. It's kind of a wish fulfillment to have a black friend telling you your music is cool. So she's kind of going into how much she enjoyed the music when she first heard it and how much it mattered to her. And she goes, in case you think I'm crazy or I'm corny, look, these black kids who listen to Tupac and have Deontay Wilder posters in the background, they agree with me. You know, they lend me authenticity. You know, I'm in touch with the noble savage. I'm not a corny white person that it just listens to bastardization of a black art. I actually, my music and my people can tap into things, you know. So, and there's other ones. There's a lot of other accounts that do something similar, but the most popular ones are almost always black, and it has everything from white millennial music like Rage Against the Machine, Tool, Stone Temple Pilots, to boomer white music like Phil Collins, Zeppelin, Hall and Oates, Dire Straits. And the reason I bring this up is I think to a large degree, Obama does everything he does to cater to white liberals and the NPR tote bag crowd, even if he's doing it with black people. Like when he went to the Charleston, South Carolina funeral, he sang Amazing Grace. He didn't sing an obscure black Negro spiritual that, you know, white people might not know. He chose the one that white people at home would recognize. It's not even a real Negro spiritual. It's written by a white abolitionist who used to trade slaves himself. And he seeks out like black influencers or whatever that white liberals know, these people, and whose work appeals not so much to other black people, but to white liberals. That's one thing. The second thing is, I think he actually, in his heart, relates to black people the way white liberals do, rather than as a fellow black American, right? Yeah, someone says, yeah, glad T brought up Tim and Fred. That overreaction to the Phil Collins video during the summer really bothered me. Yeah, so I think he himself gets that. I think he himself watches those kids and gets the same reaction that that white author gets himself. So one way or the other, he taps into yeah. But I think even all along, he was always pandering to white liberals. Because even when he pandered to black people, he pandered it in a way, he pandered to them in a way that he always knew white liberals were watching. He pandered to them in a way that broadcast his authenticity to the white liberals. And it wasn't even always pandering. Most of the time, he was giving them Bill Cosby pound cake speeches about, you know, basically pulling up their pants and not blaming things on white people all the time and working hard. So a lot of the times he wasn't even pandering that hard. And he was always doing it with the audience in mind. The audience was white. Yeah, so I just saw that, and when I saw him with those kids, it reminded me of again, everything is content. It's all always content for people who want to see this kind of conversation that we're talking about. Jerome put that up. I said Jerome, I meant Julius. Julius put that up on our Discord server. To join our Discord server, you just have to become a Patreon of the show, patreon.com/champagne sharks. We have our own little chat voice and chat server where we screen movies and do book club discussions, and we just talk about stuff. I find it way better than using Twitter. I've been trying to use that more than Twitter. I've been tweeting less and going there because you don't get a bunch of weirdos and bad faith people jumping into your conversation or trolling. So I like it there. So if you ever want to join us in that Discord voice and chat server, become a member of the Patreon. And again, you get bonus episodes of the podcast and all that good stuff and the newsletter. But yeah, something else that I found reminded me of the content thing. I want y'all to look at this. This is something I want y'all to look at real quick, because I thought this was pretty bad too. This goes to the Ta-Nehisi Coates Between the World and Me thing. Now, Ta-Nehisi Coates' book, I'm not going to say whether it was or wasn't a work. I think it maybe it was content, maybe it was a work. I have not seen enough of it to be sure. But I do think for sure the HBO special based on it is very much content. And that's the other thing. I think works can be transformed into content. It's hard to transform content into works, but works can be hijacked and co-opted by media and corporations to make them into glorified content. And the clips I'm seeing of this thing really drive home that it might be reduced to just content now. This is one thing. And for people who've been watching our live streams, like I like our live streams that they kind of build on each other. You should try to go back and watch as many of our old live streams as possible, because we end up kind of referring a lot to old things. But one of the things that I was joking about in the recent live streams is how Alicia Garza, in all her recent appearances, never wants to talk about actual content or politics or a solid ask. All she does is ever try to get people to meet with her and put her on and appoint her the Negro Whisperer. Like, she's bothering Ice Cube to bring him with her when he goes places. Bring her with him when he goes places. But when she was talking to Roland Martin, she had like 12 copies of her new book on the wall behind her. The book itself being content more than the work. Like, it's gonna be forgotten. I think it's already being forgotten even as it comes out. But yeah, the monetization of black thought. I'm not sure what you're talking about here, S. Clark. I gotta get. Let me see what you wrote before that to get context. Who was being explicit in admitting this is a reaction to being worn out by police brutality videos? Is that something that Alicia Garza herself said, or is that someone else? No, Patrisse Cullors said something similar to that. Yeah, the Game of Thrones books are works, but the TV show is content. Yeah, that's a great example. The TV show didn't have to be content, even though it was always going to be more content than the books were. But by the end, it totally really became that. They just were doing episodes for people to put GIF tumblers on. I mean, GIF reactions on Tumblr and Twitter. But check this out. Check this out. This is from the Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates adaptation. Right? Tell me if you can hear the sound. This is only 6 seconds. The sound is not even that important, but I just want to make sure you can hear it.
It did such an incredible job of really humanizing what this movement is about.
So one more time, because I think I left the progress bar block. So hold on.
It did such an incredible job of really
Again. First off, could you hear the sound? And again, the book in the background. On both sides. Like, where is she that she has 6 copies of the books in this display? Is she in a bookstore? Like, what is that? But so this is content, and like that commenter said, content promotes, works provide, and yeah, she's just so this thing is helping cross promote other people's stuff. And I'm gonna put one more clip from that. Yeah, the brand is strong with this one. Yeah, and that's one thing that is very interesting about Deceased, Desus and Miro, is that they're very slick in that not only did they kind of see where things were going, they actually made it explicit and worked it as a good thing. Like, they pretend it's kind of like self-parody, but it's almost like a way to diffuse the, like, if we hang a lampshade on that work content before other people point it out and make it almost like self-deprecating humor, even as we capitalize on it, you can't criticize us for it because we're like I'll give an example. There's a movie, Idiocracy. And Idiocracy, I really liked the movie at the time. It was good. I mean, the more I watch it, it doesn't hold up as well. It's kind of a weird eugenics thing, but I liked it at the time. But one thing that the movie did that was pretty slick, and I've gone to calling it the Idiocracy Gambit going forward, because a lot of things do this, and it's very clever. It talks about the degradation of intellectual stuff into everything is toilet humor and lowest common denominator, gross out humor and stuff. But even as it's critiquing it, it's indulging in it. So there's a scene where he goes from the past to the future, and he encounters Dax Shepard, and Dax Shepard is on this couch, and it's like a masturbation and TV consumption couch, and he keeps trying to talk to Dax Shepard. Dax Shepard's like, I'm baiting. Oh, S. Clark is talking about the New York article writer. Yeah. Oh, Idiocracy is the epitome of liberal psychosexual anxiety. Yeah, very much so. And it's full of stuff like that, like masturbation humor, fart humor, and stuff. And it's like, even as they're critiquing this lowest common denominator stuff, it's indulging on it while just pretending to critique it. So the laughs that those things get, they operate on the level of toilet humor or whatever. You're not laughing at the I'm baiting joke or the fart jokes or whatever on some intellectual level. You're enjoying it in the same way that the so-called plebes or the pros are enjoying Benny Hill, but they've given you this kind of elevated satirical context through which to enjoy it while pretending you're above it. And I feel like the Desus and Miro, the brand is strong thing, and those different catchphrases are an example of doing that with the rise of content versus works. Like, it totally buys into this idea that everything is content, everything is just what's happening right now, promotion, whatever. But because it's kind of calling attention to itself, you can say, oh, I'm not part of the problem. This is a tongue-in-cheek enjoyment of a tongue-in-cheek version of that, even as they're fully doing it earnestly at the same time. Does that make sense? I only said that because what ISON Info was saying was a reminder of that phrase. We said the brand is strong, but to a certain degree, I can appreciate that type of Idiocracy, Hustle, that This Is the Mirror are doing, more than I can appreciate what Alicia Garza does, where she doesn't even do that fake satirical or fake tongue-in-cheek thing. She earnestly pretends she's the opposite. She's telling Ice Cube social justice is not transactional, activism is not transactional, but then she is totally part of the transactional content machine. That really kind of annoys me, the lack of honesty. My problem isn't content, because content is fun. No one is into elevated stuff 24/7. I enjoy content and junk and commercial stuff as much as the next guy. What I hate is the trend of even the works being content now. Like everything is content. It's just either open content or disguised content. You know, like works are dying and too many people are trying to pass off decoy works, which are really just content in disguise. That's the part that annoys me. Not that not that content exists or that content shouldn't be enjoyed or content shouldn't be produced. Is this rampant dishonesty and the way that people are just hijacking and crowding out any earnest works of art or any works of real social justice or activism to sneak in their content and make a name for themselves before they switch over to real things. I'll give someone asked for examples. You've got to be new, I'm thinking, because we've given like tons of examples in the past. I would tell you to go to our previous live streams, but I'll give a quick example. This is something that was built on in a previous live stream, but I'll do a quick referral to it. I've mentioned this in previous live streams too, but somebody reminded me of it today, so I'm going to go back to it. Today. So let me give this example. Okay, give me a second. I didn't have this ready. He just asked for an example, and I just started this one, so I got to find it. But okay, here we go. So Patrisse Cullors, I was talking recently, and I think it was 2 live streams ago that I did. I was talking about how she has been disappearing for a while. She's got a contract with CAA, which is Will Smith's talent agency. It's like the hugest creative agency. That was last year, and this year she signed a huge overall deal with Warner Media to do all types of stuff with them. Like it's a huge deal that she got, and as a result of that deal, Patrisse Cullors. I always pronounce her name wrong. It's not Cullors. I'm giving it a French pronunciation. Cullors, right? And she's doing all this. She's doing all this stuff where she's. I'm gonna give some examples. She's recently. It's too much stuff to totally cover again, but it's in the recent live streams. But I'll try to do a quick summary. Got signed with CAA. On top of that, she was got this gig in the writers' room for an ABC Freeform show, the old ABC Family, which is was a spinoff of another show. She got into the writers' room for that, and then she joined the staff officially around the same time that she signed this deal. She moved to the writers' room for season 2, where she was a writing consultant. Season 1 that was in May. In August, in 2019, she signs with CAA, and she is now their agent. I mean, she's not their client, right? Now, that was May and August 2019. Here's what she put on Twitter in April 2019. She says, "I'm so tired of being the Black Lives Matter girl. Can't wait for folks to see me as a writer, artist, anything but this tired idea / projection of who I am. I swear to God." So she announced straight up off the bat that she was planning to cash out her chips. And I've shown this tweet on before, but I had screen caps of it. I thought she deleted it. Someone showed me today that it's actually still up, which is amazing. I actually gave the wrong information last time that I showed this. I said that it was taken down because for some reason I couldn't find it again. But no, I don't think she really sold out. I don't think she really believed. I mean, to me, I think all these people, they planned this from the beginning. I think they come in doing content and making decoy works. Well, if she ever did believe it, I think she got over it really early before she got big. We spoke with Tori Russell about this, who was one of the Ferguson protesters on the ground, and these people came in with the co-opting and limelight hogging energy and protest crashing stuff from the very beginning of the time. So at whatever point she believed it, I think they were already kind of sold out and interested in their own self-aggrandizement before they even got big. So yeah, I found it interesting. This is April. May she gets signed to CAA, and then later on she gets into the writing room. Actually, I might have just messed up the order of stuff, but yeah. So no, say May she got into the writers' room. September or August she got into the CAA. But in April, when she wrote this, she had already worked on the first season of Good Trouble. So she worked on the first season of Good Trouble. She tweets this. Then May, they announced that she's a full-fledged writer in the show for season 2. She gets the CAA representation 4 months later in August. This year, she signs her overall deal with Warner Media, and she's doing like all these kind of puff pieces everywhere, promoting her art, doing fashion stuff. And again, I've shown this before. What was news to me was that it was still up. That part surprised me. So this came out very recently. I've shown this in previous things, but for BLM artist and BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors, art and activism always intersect. This is from 2 weeks ago, and she's wearing this like high fashion outfit, and she's talking all about her art and her creative stuff, and how does the activism inform the art and vice versa, and how do rituals relate to your art, and it's this kind of blending of everything together. And I think kind of the problem is that none of the art is works. It's all just content, and all the activism is just glorified content, and they end up both being kind of subpar, and it wouldn't be really so bad if they weren't crowding out space from people who want to do more serious work, because a lot of these people are not as good at playing the game. But friend of the show from Plan A said like it not only makes them, the activist entertainment pipeline is really real, and that there's nothing wrong with with wanting to be a writer / artist rather than an activist, but if that's how you feel, like a couple years in, you're tired of this, then why make yourself the head of a major activist movement? Play your role in the rank and file. Like, don't cry, we need to be leaders. We need to be leaders. Straight black men taking all the leadership. We need black queer leaders, black leaders. We should be the center of the movement. Then a couple years in, you're like, I'm tired of this. It's so tiring. I want to be a writer and artist. Then you shouldn't be clamoring to be the leader then. And the artist to activist, the activist to artist pipeline, and also there's a reverse pipeline of artist to activists. We see that with a lot of people who are entertainers who just randomly become activists here and there. It makes them half-ass activists, but their art also sucks because it's full of short-term agendas, and they're trying to work in their half-ass politics. So they're working their half-ass art into the politics, but they're also working their half-ass politics into the art, and it's all just ends up being half-ass content. So yeah, it said a performer of activism. You're not being an activist, you're being a performer of activists, and it's all performative. It's all content. Oh, so Gabriella, you watched Good Trouble. Yeah, she was brought on just to give authenticity to, I guess, a woke black character. Yeah, and someone says, I think for many of these folks participating in BLM was always a form of performance art. The art has always been more central than the activism. Now, what's kind of ironic about that is, she said all this stuff, that she doesn't want to be the Black Lives Matter girl, that she's wants all this other stuff, and I'm so tired of being the Black Lives Matter girl. But when it's all said and done, the person who said all that stuff about the half-ass content was Oxford Condo from Escape from Planet A podcast. I was paraphrasing stuff that he said to me that I agreed with. So definitely check out their podcast, by the way. Yeah, but I'm so tired of being the Black Lives Matter girl. But when Joe Biden wins and there's a chance to kind of hop on that train, suddenly she's the Black Lives Matter girl again, and she's angry that Joe Biden is not meeting with them, and she's doing open letters that she's signing, saying, Joe Biden, why won't you meet with us? So is it Uchi Wally, or is it one mic? Like what is it? Make up your mind. Are you tired of this, or are you not tired of it? So you have to try to tell me how the girl who's tired of being the Black Lives Matter girl, because guys, remember the context of when that popped off. The whole police brutality thing was basically dead at that time. It was dunzo. It was a wrap, right? It was pretty much shot, and everyone had moved on from it. So at the time that she did this, that was the reality. So it was okay to be done with being the Black Lives Matter girl, because so many movements came and gone since then. They had all moved on. Alicia Garza moved on to the Future Foundation. Opal Tometi, I don't know what she was doing really. And then Patrisse Cullors was out conquering Hollywood and the arts world and fashion and stuff. So at that time, April, I'm so tired of being a Black Lives Matter girl. I can't wait for people to see me as a writer, artist, right before going on a tear with a bunch of announcements. It kind of made sense to do this pivot. But George Floyd happened, Ahmaud Arbery happened, Breonna Taylor happened, and now suddenly there's opportunity again in being the Black Lives Matter girl, especially because a lot of that other stuff, there's kind of a failure to launch. It was good, but it wasn't. It's like doing a side hustle, and the side hustle is actually doing okay. It's doing good, but it's not quite good enough for you to give up your old job yet. So you kind of told your boss you were quitting, and you realized maybe you were premature, right? So, yeah. So she does this letter on November 7th, 2020, signed by Patrisse Cullors on behalf of the Black Lives Matter Global Network, trying to admonish and guilt Joe Biden into meeting with her on behalf of Black Lives Matter. So it's like, you're tired of being seen as this tired projection of who you are, a Black Lives Matter girl. But when you see an opportunity for it to get in with the new president-elect and get a platform even bigger and a whole bunch of power and to remain relevant, you have no power being the Black Lives Matter girl again, you know? Someone said she circled back to, yeah, this has nothing to do with it too. You're right. COVID, I didn't think about this. Great point, Gabriella. She circled back to Black Lives Matter during COVID production pause. It's probably a combination of COVID and a combination of the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter brand, you know? Yeah, so um yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy stuff. Whew. Yeah, it's yeah, so what S. Clark was talking about, she clarified, it was the author of the piece about the twins that she was so explicit in admitting that this is a reaction to being worn out by police brutality videos and protests this summer. Yeah, that's the bad part of living through Black people, is the uncomfortable real deal stuff. It's kind of like what Julius said, is like Julius said that for them, Black joy a lot of times is an alleviation of racial guilt. So I think what, as Clark mentioned there, confirms what Julius S. was talking about. Maybe she was feeling too much racial guilt involved in watching all that stuff. So then seeing Black people enjoy white music, in addition to all the other psychological benefits she got from it, like, you know, having her music and her whiteness validated by the people who are arbiters of authenticity. On top of that, it alleviated her white guilt. So yeah, I think that's a great point, S. Clark. It's just I didn't understand what you're referring to at the time, and it's no fault of your own. There's a delay. Like, you guys see what I say a couple of like a minute or two after I say it. So by the time you react to it, I've already moved on to something else, and I'm not always sure what you guys are talking about. But yeah. So I mean, the content train is still going, and when I saw that thing with Obama and those twins, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And just the fact that it was a trailer for something else, which was meant to promote a playlist and a book, and that he was using those kids and what those kids kind of represent to Black people. It's just, I just hate how Blackness is just used as this kind of currency that people can just use for whatever they want. A white liberal can use it to alleviate their racial guilt, or to borrow the authenticity for their own art and childhood, you know, or like all the psychological uses of Blackness by non-Black people, and even melanated people like Barack Obama are not immune from trafficking in the same stuff, you know, especially when it's a Black person who has their own struggles with authenticity. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Wasn't gonna go on too much longer with that. You know, as usual, if you enjoy the content we bring and the information that we bring and the perspective and context that we add to the stuff. Ironically, I said the content that we bring. Let me rephrase that. The context we bring, because I like to think of ourselves as context providers. We do provide content, but I think most importantly, we provide context, which I think is another sign of pure content. Like, content works contextualize the lives that we live and the periods we live in, whereas too much content strips all context from everything just becomes decontextualized and flattened. So I like to think of ourselves as primarily context providers. If you provide the context that we bring, then feel free to hit up the super chat, that $ in the live chat section, and show us your appreciation there. We always appreciate that. Goes back into the show and equipment and other things. And also feel free to Venmo or Cash App us at Champagne Sharks, or PayPal us at Champagne Sharks at this address, or champagnesharks@gmail.com. We always appreciate that. So PayPal, champagnesharks@gmail.com, Venmo and Cash App, Champagne Sharks. Help us put more money into the show and into the equipment. And yeah, that's basically that. As usual, we appreciate everything. Let me go through some last minute good comments. It's the same old story. Black people aren't meant to own anything, even their ideas and tastes. And I'll also add, even their own authenticity. Our authenticity is just made to be borrowed. The biggest and loudest of BLM are clearly distracting / reformist, and like T said, muddy if not completely overshadow legit campaigns / grassroots organizing. Yeah, I definitely agree. And we started this with Tory Russell, but we have some other grassroots organizers in the works that we want to talk to, that we feel haven't gotten enough attention or access to do actual good things. Like access should be a means to an end, not the end in and of itself. And I think that's a problem with a lot of these people. Yeah. And yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, it sounds like an evolved Afropunk show, very much so. Everyone, be good. Thanks again for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. And patreon.com/Champagne Sharks. Become a patron of the actual podcast. The actual podcast is, we have a lot of great guests coming up, and look forward to hearing you guys' thoughts on that as well. Be good, everybody. Take care.